What is a rail gauge, and why does it vary in mountains? Imagine you're sitting on a train winding through some of the most breathtaking mountain scenery. Did you ever wonder how engineers decided the width of those tracks? Well, that's what a rail gauge is all about. Rail gauge is the distance between the inner sides of the two rails that support the train wheels. It might seem simple, but this measurement influences how stable and fast a train can be. Most of the world uses the standard gauge, which measures 1,435 millimeters, or about 4 feet 8.5 inches. This became popular because it was used early on during the rise of steam trains in Britain and spread to North America and Western Europe. But not all railways stick to this size. Some use broader gauges, like India, which has a gauge of 1,676 millimeters, or about 5 feet 6 inches. Broader gauges can carry heavier trains and are more stable at high speeds. Russia also uses broad gauge in parts of its network. Then there's meter gauge, which measures 1,000 millimeters, or about 3 feet 3 inches. This smaller gauge was chosen in many areas to cut costs during construction, especially in places with difficult terrain. Southeast Asia and Brazil have many meter gauge lines. Narrow gauge tracks are even smaller, often 762 millimeters, or about 2 feet 6 inches, and sometimes just 610 millimeters, or about 2 feet. These narrow tracks are cheaper to build and easier to lay in tight mountain curves or steep grades. When it comes to mountain railways, narrow gauge is often the best choice. The smaller size means lower construction costs and the ability to make sharper turns. This is very useful in rugged terrain, where building a wide gauge track would be very expensive or impossible. For example, the Darjeeling Mountain Railway in India, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, uses narrow gauge because it can navigate the steep and winding mountain paths. Countries like India are working to convert many narrow gauge lines into broad gauge, but some mountain routes are kept narrow for their unique engineering advantages. The gauge also affects how fast a train can go. Larger gauges generally support higher speeds, but in mountains, the priority is often flexibility and safety. Narrow gauge trains can handle tight turns and steep slopes better, making your mountain rail journey smoother and more scenic. So next time you're on a mountain train, think about how the size of those rails helps you enjoy the stunning views and the adventure of navigating through the mountains.